as a presenter of our research that we were so excited to do together, since it's not kind of research that we were used to do, a composer and musicologist working in the same time, in the parallel time, one of them documenting and another of them creating something beautiful. So before starting, thank you very much for the opportunity once again to be part of the 5th edition of the Congress. And we wanted to share a few words first why we decided on the title Composer's Inner Voice as a bridge between music and humanity. We started from a simple thought. Every piece of music starts somewhere deep inside a person, in our case, composer. Before the score, before the instruments, that's that quiet inner that holds our emotions, our memories, and our stories. And when a composer turns that inner voice into music, it suddenly becomes something everyone can feel. It's kind of magical how something so personal becomes so universal. And this is what we can also evident and argument also during the Congress. And this idea is very close to us because of where we come from. In Kosovo, the composing tradition has always been shaped by real human experiences, as in the many countries in the world, sometimes happy experiences, sometimes hopeful. So our composers have this way of letting their inner voice speak, not just for themselves, but also for the community, for the moment and circumstances we're living, and especially for the identity we carry. And this came as a result of the social, historical, and political circumstances that we have gone through. And now let's go back to our presentation. To ground this research, we used the contemporary ensemble work, Where Silence Blooms, as our case study. The piece is not the main topic of our research, but it acts as a clear window into how the inner voice moves, changes, resists, and participates in the creative process. So during the presentation, we will not get very deep with the analysis of the piece, but we want to share a few information about the piece. It was commissioned, and Dea will elaborate furthermore. This year, so it's a new piece. It had the premiere on the 2nd of August in the 2025. So obviously, it's a new piece that I had a chance to get to know and also to document and analyze the whole process of it. So today we'll guide you through the conceptual, theoretical, and practical discoveries me and Dea made during this research. At its core, this research has a simple question. What exactly is the composer's inner voice? So we know it exists because composers constantly talk about intuition, about their instinct, that gut feeling, or the sense that a musical idea is the right one or the wrong one. But these descriptions are vague and often mostly mystical. This comes as a result because sometimes also the composers, they choose to not to not be so open about the support in a different circumstances that they got support for the content or the idea, the whole idea of the piece that they are creating. So we aim to understand through the piece how internal imagination becomes shared musical meaning, how inner impulses shape the way music communicates, and how the inner voice might actually be a bridge between composer and the collective humanity of performance and listeners, which in our case are, of course, is the audience. To explore this, we combine theoretical reflection with hands-on creative work. And our theoretical framework blends philosophy, psychology, musicology, and also cultural studies. We gathered some of the well-known researchers, scientists, and through the theories and researches, they gave us a multi-perspective way to understand what the inner voice is doing. So those researchers frame the composer's inner voice as a multidimensional phenomenon situated between self, culture, and body. For example, we used, and of course we would use, Adorno, which highlights the tension between individual autonomy and social meaning, while Jung reveals how symbolic inner imaginary guides artistic expression. Griffiths and Chen position the modern composer within shifting creative and cultural contexts. Nagy emphasizes the environmental conditions in which ideas emerge. Earlman extends the picture by showing how listening itself is culturally constructed, something that we already need, especially in Kosovo case. And the last but not least, and very important, Kant, which through his theory of universal aesthetics, judgment, concludes that beauty emerges between perceivers. It has subjective universality, but it's valid experience universally. So those theoretical tools brought us to several key concepts. First, the inner voice is not just an inspiration, it is an artistic space where decisions happen. And it's also an ethical space where the composer considers how their choices affect performers and audiences. Second, the inner voice balances personal reflection with the need to create meaning that others can understand or feel. And third, music is not just sound, it is a form of thought. It communicates emotions, structures, tensions, and ideas that would be impossible sometimes to express even with words. So to understand the inner voice more concretely, we developed a methodology that combines both theoretical thinking and creative practice. So our study uses three main components: creative process analysis, studying sketches, drives, and diaries; artistic interpretation, interpreting those materials in light of theory; and dialogic reflection, conversation between the composer and the musicologist. In this case, me and Dea. I have also prepared a questionnaire, and we used it as an interview, which illuminated more the process that Dea as a composer goes through while composing a piece. And yes, it was our case study, the piece where silence blooms, who became the ground where all of these three methods intersected. So now I think that Dea can elaborate more on the methods and also give you the artistic perspective of the process.
Yes, then maybe you should turn off the mic.
Yes, I will.
I will continue now with my part. First of all, it is a pleasure for me to share with you some hints of my compositional process, maybe not just in the particular piece, but referring to my compositional process generally. So during that process, from my side, a big part of the project was involved keeping a compositional diary that here I documented everything. Also for me was a new thing to do because for us as composers, especially, who are not used to work at the same times with a musicologist that is actually analyzing the process, but we are mostly used to have the feedbacks on the end of the work and when the work is finished and premiere, but that case was something different. So I had the diary when I documented everything, starting from the very first sketches, going to a lot of drafts during the compositional process, the hesitations during the process, the unexpected intuition, etc. So this made that inner voice even more visible in a way that it usually isn't. So I could literally follow the evolution of the ideas, how the ideas emerged, how the ideas dissolved, how those ideas transformed, and also as a very important tool on that process, how my body actually responded to musical gestures, to intervals, to textures, and everything else. Compositional process, as we know for sure, is a very complex process because in a way you have to put different parameters and all the different other factors into an harmonious union. So my intuitions, my intentions, my desires were translating into sound, enabling that subjective experience of mine to become to create that kind of communication within a shared cultural space. So the compositional process also could be understood as an interplay in between the intuition, the reflection, the technical craft for sure, which is very important. The information that we have, then the craft that we actually do have to bring those ideas to life, and also the continuous refinement of the work. This process is an interconnection in between the inner experience and the external realization of that inner experience. So everything will start with a very simple idea, starting from a gesture, a rhythm, a color, a timbre. I mean, even an emotional atmosphere could be that initial idea, that spark that is going to start a new piece. When the works that start on actually in that phase, the work starts to have the initial identity. Those intuitive based elements should be externalized to concrete music ideas, as we know. So we have the main parameters of the work, which are the form, the harmony, the motives, the texture, the timbral palette of the work. So we have to choose the right tools to bring those ideas to life. A very crucial part of the process for sure is the organization of the material in a formal context, the architecture of the work, a collaboration in between the intuition and also the analysis on that case also take place. The composers listen to the inner voice and the works wants to unfold and how the works actually wants to unfold in the intuitive context and align this with the formal coherence, which is very important. Also, the architecture involves the form, the proportions, the density, the moments of tension and release that are also very important to create that kind of communication in between the listener and the music, the work in itself. So the architecture, as I said, involves all the form, the proportion, density, and everything else. Composing is not, as we could notice till now, composition is not a linear process. It is all about revising ideas, removing ideas, adding ideas, clarifying the ideas that we actually do have. And this is for sure a process of deep listening to the inner and the external sound that derives from that inner sound that we actually do analyze. So the stage reveals the true identity of the work, and all those layers of experimentation gradually converge into a coherent whole. Also, the final stage of the process is actually very important. One, because we have to prepare the score for the performers, which are a very crucial part to create that kind of communication in between the composer and the listener. So we have to, the first stage is rendering the work on the best way possible to so the performer can bring the work to life, and this includes the detailed scoring, dynamics, articulation, phrasing, and other important instructions that are going to help the performer to bring the piece to life as best as good as possible. So, and also I have to add this because the intuition, that inner voice, so many times is affected by different factors, or even we can consider it restricted by different factors. For example, this could be different if we talk about national context and international context, but in case you are interested, we can elaborate this even more at the end of the presentation. So I am continuing with the second method. I guess the third should be now. Yes. Here you can see some parts actually of the work sorry.
And also we want you to know that in the chat that we are sharing here together, you have the the link of the piece if so interested to know more about the piece, and also you will get to know more about Dea, sorry, as a young, ambitious, and very talented composer.
Thank you. Here you could see the beginning of the work. I just talked about that earlier. Here is the middle part of the work with the intensity and that the lines, which are very individual for nearly each instrument, create so much tension, and it is maybe the main part of the work, the culmination, I mean, of the work. Here I will continue with the third method, which is the dialogic reflection. The third method is the dialogic reflection, the structured conversation in between the composer and musicologist. And in these sessions, we discussed why the certain decisions were made, how intuition felt at specific moments, where the inner voice resisted or encouraged change, and how the piece actually grew over time. So these discussions became essential for understanding the inner voice, not just a private experience, but as something that became clearer when shared, questioned, or reflected on together. And the way those dialogues mirrored the main theme of the research, inner experience becoming a shared understanding. Here is the end of the work. Also, I will stop a little bit on the findings. Our findings reveal important aspects of the inner voice. First is the dynamic, the constantly shifting as the piece evolves. Second is it is shaped by physical experience for sure, the breath, the movement, the touch, the tension. The third is it carries an ethical dimension. For example, how much fragility you ask of the performers and how long you hold the audience on the silence. Also, the fourth is it blends personal intuition with cultural context, meaning the inner voice is never purely individual. So taken together, those findings show that creativity is deeply human process and involves the body, the mind, the memory, but also the social. I guess now I just gave some glimpses of that composer's reflections, but maybe I should stop a little bit on the gut feeling, on the excitement that we get as soon as we have that first idea on our mind. And for sure, one of the most important parts of the compositional process is the initiation of the work for many reasons. And one of them is for sure that spark, that connection that we create with the work since the beginning of the idea. I think this happens with every composer when the idea comes and you feel like you are on top of the world, actually. So it is very important to be consistent to that idea and that feeling, and every idea that comes and creates that excitement is actually a green flag that we should continue to work at this idea. The second one is for sure the body, which is, as I said even earlier, is a very important tool during that process. The body leads intuition, the gesture, dynamics, timbre emerge from a body signal. So body for sure is a very important tool to guide your musical decisions. So many times the physical tension, the changes in breathing, the stillness of the body are strongly connected with specific compositional choices. After this are ethics, for sure. They are very important. Ethics influence texture for form emotional architecture. So I think that someone's ethics are going to be very crucial part of the process of creation, even subconsciously, if not consciously. So in a way, you see the way you see the word and the percept things are going to reflect also on your music if you stay true for sure in your inner voice. And that one that is the integration of familiar elements, for sure is going to help to create an interconnection in between the listener and the composer, which are, for example, the sacred music, the sacral music, which I use a lot in my works, generally speaking, also the stylistic references. I guess now we had, as the professor said earlier, the case study was Where Silence Blooms. Where Silence Blooms actually is a work that is thematically based on the process of meditation. So you can see that the work in itself, the reason why we picked that work to work on that idea is that the topic is very human-based. So the thematically, as I said, the work is based on the meditation, the art of noticing what is happening inside us and around you and around us. So without being pulled away by thoughts, urges, or emotions. So when we are being referred to our inner world, I see this as a very complex and chaotic space that is quite unexplored. And as soon as we are brave enough to face our inner world and our darkest part, we will be able also for sure to decode also the philosophy of the life in itself. So this work illustrates the meditation process. This is why I wanted through this theme to invite the listener to explore their inner world just as I have illustrated actually mine on that piece. I guess we will continue with contribution.
Yes, thank you very much, Dea.
Thank you.
This research. Yes, you could tell me, do you hear me now? I think yes, we're good, since I am with Dea in the same space. So because of the echo, we need to turn off our mics. So by all means, this research contributes to a new way of thinking about artistic creativity. By combining theory and practice, we build a model. We tried, actually, our tendency was to build a model that helped us see how inner experience becomes musical meaning. And it demonstrates that the inner voice is not private or mysterious anymore, but rather a bridge connecting the composer's interior world, the performers interpreting the word, and the listeners receiving it. In this sense, music becomes a deeply human process of communication. So to conclude, our study shows that the composer's inner voice is a vital bridge between imagination and humanity. It carries emotional, intellectual, physical, and ethical dimensions. And through our case study, the piece Where Silence Blooms, we observed how fragile sounds, restrained choices, and contemplative spaces reveal the inner voice while working or while composing. So ultimately, the inner voice is not something inside the composer, but it is a point of connection where personal reflection becomes a shared human experience. And yes, more of this. Well, they are revealed more that we wanted to reveal during our presentation, because it can be further read in the article publication that we will have. So you will get to know the whole process with the samples, photos, and also we will publish our diary. Although if you... by first of all thanking you, we are looking forward to your discussion or possible questions that you have for me and Dea and the whole research that we presented today. So thank you very much. Yes, Professor Vansta.
Thank you very much. It was
I
so
don't
inspiring.
Hear you, please.
Do you hear my voice?
Just now. Can you try again, please?
Do you hear my voice now?
Yes, now, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, maybe my mic.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so thank you very much for this very, very inspiring presentation. And I think that you mentioned very new perspectives and absolutely original attitude to composers' creativity. Absolutely new. It was absolutely fantastic for me. And just now I'm thinking in my mind about too many things about composers' creativity. First of all, that's why I like conferences, including RAST Music Congress, because I know too many things from this Congress and where about too many new compositions, new composers. And after Rust Congress, I will listen to all new composers whose names I heard first time in my life, and Dia, of course, including your music. It's very interesting. I was thinking about just thoughts that I can, how to say, speak loudly.
Yes,
Can we
express.
say that you said that there are some aspects that lead our intuition? Can we say that? I'm not sure. Can we say that, for example, not only cultural landscape or not only the information encoded in our own unconscious, as Jung, explained
Plain, yes.
in his unconscious theory. Can we say that sometimes, for example, our DNA, our chemistry also is involved in these processes, our temperament, our features of the character. So it's maybe complex of too many things that lead our intuition. Can we say this?
I'm sorry, I just need to translate a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry.
A do gjithmonë me qenë mbarë prej kushteve dhe rrethonave, apo shpesh herë është mrena ADN-s ton, ajo që na shty neve. Do të thonë
Right.
Is it okay? Understandable?
It is, yes. Sorry, because I was doing something in between this kind of break that I just had. I mean, yes, for sure, the circumstances are
going to please.
Yeah.
The circumstances for
sure are going to impact the intuition. So maybe it is for sure part of the DNA, but also as soon as you have it, what information do you observe, and also what you absorb, and different. Could be maybe the political issues, could the social ones. I mean, so many factors could have the impact on the way that your inner voice functions. So this is why I mentioned the craft, the technical craft that you do have. Also, it is going to affect intuition in the way, because this is going to affect the quality of the work. Also, now, as I know, during my years while I was studying, till now, I have had for sure more information than I used to when I was at the beginning. So I could recognize that even my intuition and my inner voice, the way I was seeing the things, changed quite a lot. So yes, for sure.
So
Yes.
So you don't have to always be, like obliged from the circumstances. Also, when you have something, we're talking about your inner, so it doesn't have always to be like, in the, not kind of obliged, but it doesn't have to be support or your guidance, how you should compose. But you should listen to your inner self also, the one. Is it?
This is for sure. I mean, yes, first of all, you should prioritize
your inner self in your
This is good. When they prioritize.
But for sure, I wanted to add something, because even subconsciously, the environment is going to affect you in a way or another. So it is nearly not that possible to be very true as we are maybe pretending to our inner voice, because those things are going to have its impact. The information that you gain during the process, also the social, aspect and political one, or could be anything. Even subconsciously, they are going to build and are going to affect your language, your inner voice.
Thank you very much. As I understand, you presented some kind of artistic research. It's a kind of artistic research, self-reflection. And very interesting process. And how about, do you think that also gender impulses lead our intuition or not? It's very important for me. Does gender impulses also influence somehow composition?
Actually, we had that conversation yesterday with the professor about the
gender
gender
thing,
thing,
but
but
I
I
think
think that
that's
for me, no,
I
I
don't
don't
want
want
to
to
do
do
that
that
kind
kind
of
of
separation.
separation in between the males and the female composer. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Sometimes voice is doubled. I'm sorry.
So yes, I think that sorry, I think that the gender for me is not that important. I mean, we have excellent composers, both female and male. I mean, both have their own language, their own way they do represent themselves. So for me, it is not a thing that I would discuss.
But
So
no, I think that Professor Guasta, I think that Professor Guasta is not asking about the gender issues that we have, like being a female composer or a male composer.
Yes.
She's talking about the instinct, the inner feeling, and that do you think it changes from
Gender impulses, yes.
yes, gender
I
impulses.
mean biological impulses sometimes.
Yes.
That's why I
have
mentioned chemistry.
I mean, I have heard different perspectives on this, actually. I have discussed that earlier. So for some, and maybe for me, maybe I'm not really sure. I do not consider myself separated from the male way of thinking. But for some others, for sure, could be that the nature of a female that is going to affect even their music, the fragility of the female that maybe will affect the music. But for me personally, I actually don't think that I would separate, my way of thinking from the male composer.
So I totally agree with you because I have discussed this issue with too many students, and always they ask. We have two categories: good music and bad music. And it does not matter who wrote this music, man or male or female. So as well as in other art forms. So I totally agree with you. So it was a thought-provoking presentation with too many original ideas, and maybe I have too many questions, and maybe we contact each other and yes, and collaborate in the future because your presentation was brilliant. Both, I want to say thank you to both participants. Thank you very much.
Well, we wanted to find something to connect with humanity.
Yes.
And I think, I hope also then when you see our full article, I hope you will still think the same.
Yes.
I really appreciate that coming from you and knowing your work.
Yes, and I had one final question. If we have time, maybe we have time because Sylvia will join us exactly at 5 o'clock. So this is question to both of you. For example, when I had exams in polyphony at my institution, I wrote fugue in the style of Bach's music. And I got 10 marks, so it was perfect. And my professor, Nodarma Misashvili, the grandiose Georgian composer, wrote 10 with plus, and he said that no mistakes, but it was not music. So it was just knowledge of tools, knowledge of composition techniques, but it was not music. It was awful. So I have a question about this issue. So do we think that everything can we explain while we are discussing about product of creativity? Everything can explain, so everything is teachable. So are there some percents of unexplained things, even if we are talking about intuition? So can we explain, for example, I know all techniques in music, for example, but I cannot write music. I'm not a composer. So can we explain it with unexplained percentage in creative processes? Everything is explained or not? This is my question.
I think maybe we know that every one of us has their own talents, and maybe this is actually, first of all, a talent in itself. So maybe the way that you see the music and you can produce the music, maybe it is part of the DNA that we were talking about earlier. But those other tools, the techniques that we learned, are actually tools to bring those ideas to life that are serving, first of all, us as a composer through analysis, through learning new techniques. And they're actually a tool. As you could see, as you just said earlier, the work was perfect technically, but it was the lack of the musicality. So maybe that musicality is just a talent in itself that we actually do have, but we also develop it during our learning process.
So,
yes, and I wanted to add something also, because yes, you can teach and you can take a lot from the teachers, from the mentors, or from the experiences that you have. But one thing also that I learned during this process that I had with the as for a very short period as it was, you can never teach and you can never transmit that gut feeling. So
yes,
yeah.
that's why I wanted
Yeah.
to hear it.
Yes.
Yes, talent is not touchable.
Yes.
Talent is talent. Nobody. So I know all rules, for example, in all techniques, but I cannot create even one normal bar. I can create,
Yes.
but it would be only, how to say, mechanical, without mistakes, but it would be music, inspiring music. So thank you very much. Great topic.
Thank you very much, Professor Gansa. Thank you. And I think now that I should continue with the session. And finally, we can welcome my dear Professor Guansta,